what was your take of? You obviously had the TNT crew that was basically laughing at Anthony Davis and his injury.
Yep.
And also not like indirectly addressing it rather than
there was not a person alive that didn't know what they were laughing.
They knew what it was, but it's also Barkley that calls them street clothes and doesn't. There's no stuttering for any of them. They will call it. They will say it.
No, they were laughing at him getting hurt.
They were laughing at Anthony Davis getting hurt,
leaving in a wheelchair and all that nonsense. Yeah.
Okay, so that was going on. Twitter was kind of interesting both ways, where either people are saying, "Here we go, Anthony Davis again," or was the other side saying, "Damn, we have no information," and everybody is just piling on Anthony Davis, including the TNT crew the most, because that's just what you watch right after the game, and it's the most prominent names.
Laughing at him.
It's the most prominent names that you can
Shaq
that you
and
can think of.
Charles were openly
laughing
at the fact that he reacted the way he did to getting hit upside the head,
and that was right after the game, so we didn't really have any of the other information that we had. I'm curious to get your thoughts on just game ends, all of that happens, and then here we are sitting today, because it was less about the actual game. It was more about AD, injury, his response, everybody else's response.
It's one of those things that I say this a lot, I know I do, that multiple things can be true at the same time. That Anthony Davis's reputation, especially over the last few years, has been of a guy that is very, very fragile, a guy that's on the ground a lot, a guy that will lay on the ground and scream like he shattered his femurs and then be running up and down the court 2 minutes later. He has earned the reputation, or let me rephrase. He has not earned the benefit of the doubt. If Giannis got smacked upside the head like that and went down and left the game, people would not be laughing at him. LeBron would not be getting laughed at if he got smacked upside the head and left the game. Jokic would not be getting laughed at if he got smacked upside the head and left the game. It's deeply, deeply disrespectful, but I understand where it's coming from. It shouldn't happen because you don't know. I mean, again, I've watched that. You've watched it. We've all watched it from 100 different angles. It did not look like Mike Tyson caught him with a right hand. It didn't look like that. But I don't know. You know, Kevon Looney's a big dude. If he catches you with his arm.
Isn't it also where you get hit? It has nothing to do with anything else?
All of these things. Okay. Where, how hard, whether you're braced for it or not, all of these things contribute to the severity of the shot. What I'm saying is I think it's a really dicey game to play, to be laughing at a guy that had his bell rung like that. Like when, what was it? It was game 4. When was it game
Draymond.
4 or game 3 where Draymond hit his head on the ground?
Yeah.
Like we saw that and everybody's like, ooh, that was bad because it really hit the floor hard. This did not look like that. It looked like something less than that. I'm not saying it was, but it looked like it was. So I understand the impulse to go, oh, my God, this guy again, really? I understand the impulse, but you're talking about a guy getting hit in the head. He did leave the game. And to your point, after the game yesterday, without really knowing whether he's going to be up for Game 6. Now, I'm sure Kenny and Charles and Shaq would all be like, no, he is playing in Game 6. This is why we were laughing, because we knew it wasn't, you know, a blow that was going to keep him out of the rest of the playoffs. Maybe, but Anthony Davis, unfortunately, has not earned the benefit of the doubt that when he goes down, everybody goes, "Uh-oh, is he okay?" It's more like, here we go again. That's just what he's earned.
All right, so let's do this, because I got some thoughts on that too. And the hope is obviously AD is good to go for Game 6. And then anything else that happens in between that, we'll leave it alone. But I thought last night was very interesting. Up until this morning, it was probably, if it was any other player, there wouldn't be the reaction, there wouldn't be the conversation. I don't know if there's another player. I don't know if the only thing I'm thinking of is maybe a Ben Simmons.
The topic is Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
The topic was not just that he left the game, which obviously is a big deal. Not just that he was questionable for what's going to come, and just in case you're just joining us right now, it appears he's going to play in Game 6. Chris Haynes was reporting that barring an unforeseen setback, he's going to be ready to go. I think Anthony Davis will be really good in Game 6 because Anthony Davis is a really good basketball player. But people's reaction to Anthony Davis, specifically Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Stephen A. on his show this morning. I'll play a little of the Shaq and Chuck thing last night because post-game, Kenny Smith was trying to talk about the game, and Shaq and Charles were like
after the game,
fourth graders who somebody farted in class and they can't stop laughing at it. And Kenny finally was like, no, I know what they're laughing at.
Game 6, These guys, man. I know what they're laughing about. I think I do too, but what are you laughing about? You know what they're laughing at. I'm laughing at Chuck. Shaq, I know what they're laughing at. You understand? Shaq is over there crumbling up paper. That's why I was laughing. That's not what I'm going about. I'm laughing at Chuck.
Okay. Ernie knew what they're laughing at.
Yeah.
Kenny knows what they're laughing at.
You knew. I knew.
Everybody does.
We all knew.
They're laughing at Anthony Davis being out of the game again for something that they deemed not particularly serious, for something that they thought was confirmation of what they think of him, which as a competitor, as a dog, they don't have any respect for him. They just don't. You don't treat somebody like that you have respect for like that. They wouldn't do that to LeBron James. They wouldn't do that to Steph Curry. They wouldn't do that to Draymond or Clay. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that to Austin Reeves. But they feel very comfortable when it comes to Anthony Davis to say, yeah, okay, oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Oh. They felt very comfortable humiliating him, for lack of a better word. They were very comfortable doing that.
What do you want Anthony Davis to do?
So let me say this. Everybody can have their own perspective on this, because I think you're getting, if we said right now, hey, what do you think of how Shaq and Charles acted yesterday? You might get, I don't know, it might be right down the line. 50% say, guys, it's Anthony Davis. Guy's been injured a lot. It didn't look like a bad injury. You might get the other side that feels a different way. I'll just tell you my perspective. Damn, that is the ultimate disrespect. That is truly the definition of the ultimate disrespect, especially when you didn't even get some information. If today the news we got from Chris Haynes was like, guys, you know what? He's good. If the Lakers came out with something official and said, he's good. He's good to go for Game 6. Just got hit at the wrong spot, but it's not going to hold him. It's not concussion. He's not even going through concussion protocol. He's all good to go. And they want to come on today before the Denver Nuggets take on the Phoenix Suns and react a little bit different to it. I get that. I understand it. Even though I just kind of the laughing like fourth graders, like you said, there is no more disrespect than what you could do yesterday. Maybe the only other disrespect is you labeled him and it took off street clothes, and that's what a lot of people now, the definition that they got for Anthony Davis. Very disingenuous from my perspective, especially that early on. You said something that I think is interesting. You said certain guys earn certain reputations. And I hate it for Anthony Davis because there is a reputation for Anthony Davis that, all right, he's played 25 straight games. Is he going to get injured now? That has been his reputation, certainly at least his time with the Lakers. We said something yesterday. Remember when we said the last time Anthony Davis was healthy for this stretch of a time, they were winning a championship in October in 2020 in the bubble after COVID. That it's been that long since he's had a stretch like this where he's playing this type of basketball and he's healthy. I feel for him for that. At the same time, I don't want to say he's put himself in this position, but in a sense,
he's kind of put himself in this position.
In a sense, his injuries and being injury prone has done that. But what Chuck and Shaq could have done yesterday is they could have just simply said, guys, I mean, it's hard for me to see him going out because of that injury. It's hard for me to look at what just happened and say, I've seen a lot worse hits. Maybe there's something I didn't see. They should have talked about it rather than, I just thought that was the ultimate disrespect. That's it.
The disrespect was palpable. There is no other word for it because, I think you're right, Al. I think Ben Simmons might be the only guy that comes to mind where other players, Shaq, Charles, and Kenny got in on it at the end. He was a part of it too.
He was,
quote, fixing his chair, right? That they feel comfortable making fun of that. They feel comfortable doing it. And you said, in them doing it without having new information, right? I think their argument, if I'm putting myself in their head, is I don't need new information. I have all the old information. I've seen him do this time and time again because it's not just that Anthony Davis misses time with injuries. You've heard me complain about this to you both on the air and off. It's the histrionics. It's the stuff that's like, dude, you're always on the ground. You're always. How many times does he fall down like, did he break his leg? Did he tear up his knee? And then he's up again. Like you can only see somebody do, and then he's running, and then he's a great player all over again. You can only see that so many times before you're like, all right. And look, those guys may have dodged a bullet in that he turns out he's okay and he's going to be ready to go, and they can basically go, see, told you, instead of, no, he's badly concussed and he might not play again in the playoffs. Then they would look even worse than I think they do. But they don't respect him. They don't. There's no other way to say it than they don't respect him. You don't treat somebody like that if you respect him. He has not earned the benefit of the doubt in their minds, in a lot of Laker fans' minds, in a lot of basketball fans' minds. You can't constantly be the guy that's on the ground and dealing with these things, missing games, all of it. Take all of it together, and then when it happens again at one of the most crucial points in a playoff series, not expect people to roll their eyes if that's the low end, or just literally laugh in your face on national TV, which is the high end.
I just hate the trying to determine how somebody's injured or not without knowing.
It's risky.
I just hate that.
It's incredibly risky.
That to me is, I think what I hate the most is, let me just take a guess. Let me not get enough information and listen.
But I think their point is, I'm not guessing.
Okay, but
know.
let's use Inside the NBA as a perfect example. We've all talked about it's my favorite show.
Sure.
That I will watch a blowout in an NBA game knowing that they're coming up next. But it's moments like that just kind of stop me. It's like, all right, well, I get the entertainment side. I get all that. This is what makes them so great. But damn, you have no idea. You have no information yet if he did get a concussion, if maybe he's not going in Game 6. Maybe it's just, you know what are they? Sometimes you get hit in the head, or the arm, it's a stinger or something like that. Your reaction in the beginning is different. Lakers were also down by X amount of points with 6.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. I think it's not for me.
But this thing, I get that, and that's not your personality, and I understand that, and I'm not surprised that you feel that way, and I think it's the way a lot of people feel. It happens all the time with this guy.
How can he help it? It's an injury. He can't help that.
I understand that, and I'm not arguing that it wasn't a significant blow. I'm not arguing that he wasn't woozy or whatever the terminology is. What I'm saying is that for 2 years, if you're lying on the ground and missing games and carrying on the way that he frequently does, that when it happens again, that people react a certain way, is not a huge surprise. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I'm not surprised that a lot of people look. My phone blew up last night. Like, are you seeing this? He barely got touched. I'm saying that reaction was very, very common. I think what would make people feel a lot better about this is if he just fired back at those guys. Like if he said, you know what, I know those guys don't respect me and I don't respect them. They can call me whatever they want. They can think whatever they want. I know what happened. I know how hard I play. I know what my body feels like. And those guys can go pound sand, like to fire back. But that he doesn't. That's not who he is. Mm-hmm. He's a nice guy, right? He's a pretty thoughtful, nice guy, and they don't respect him. Mm-hmm. There's no other way to say it. You don't laugh at someone potentially getting smacked upside the head 10 minutes after it happens.
Yeah.
If you have even a modicum of, there's no one else they would do that to.